Hello YouTube, I'm an editor on my first short film. While I've been editing YouTube content for a while now, I've never had the chance to work on a more traditional style of film before. We just got the film ready for its alpha release, and while it's by no means finished, we've made some great progress so far. I wanted to share with you all the behind the scenes of the edit so far, all my ups and downs, and the general process that I used to edit the screen and cut that we have today. Without further ado, let's get started. The first step of any good project is ingest and organization. After getting all the clips into Premiere, my editing software of choice, I made sure that all the clips were organized into their own bins. My projects tend to get cluttered as they go on, so I made it my top priority to keep this one as tidy as I could. Once everything was organized into bins, the next step was renaming every clip. This meant watching each clip, finding the clapper at the beginning of the take, and writing down the details. If the clapper was out of focus or out of frame, I had to listen to the audio and hear the AD call out the scene, shot, and take for the particular clip.
Scene 5P, take 2.
This is where the first problem came into play. This is metadata. It's all the information about a shot and includes things like frame rate or video information or audio information. Editors can also edit this metadata to add their own information, like scene number, shot number, and take number. I was originally editing this project in DaVinci Resolve before a host of performance issues led me to swap back to Premiere. The nice thing about DaVinci is that it has a nice feature where if you have metadata, you can automatically name clips in large batches using it. Being a reasonable individual, I thought, Premiere is a pretty robust editing software. It must have its own equivalent batch renaming feature. Unfortunately, it doesn't. And I didn't realize that until after I had already named all of the metadata for every single clip that we had. I had to go through and rename every single clip a second time just so I could have something usable in the timeline. It was very tedious, but it definitely made the rest of the edit much more efficient, so I thank Past John for his service. With all the organization sorted, I moved on to the next stage, the Stringout Cut. One tool that let me make the Stringout Cut extremely efficiently was the script notes. This heaven-sent spreadsheet is a collection of every scene in the film with the best take of each shot marked. In the past, I've always worked on projects by myself, so I've been the one that's recording and being in every single take, so I already have a really good idea of what every single take looks like, so I've never made script notes before. But for this project, I wasn't really on set too often, so having script notes was really helpful because it let me know what was going to be in a take before I even watched it. Using the script notes, I was able to put each scene into its own sequence and take out all of the bad takes, leaving only the good ones remaining. While it was definitely not a final project, it let me get a better idea of the scene as a whole and visualize what I wanted it to look like at the end of the edit. With the Stringout Cut done, we're able to move on to the next stage, synchronizing the audio. The first step in synchronizing audio is making sure you know which audio clip goes with every single video clip that was shot. This was actually a very quick and easy process since I had the script notes, the clapper, and the sound recorder saying the name of each audio clip at the beginning of every shot.
It's on speeding file 158.
Once I found the audio clip for each video clip, I simply dragged and dropped it into the sequence. While Premiere has a nice system that can automatically sync video and audio, it wasn't always reliable. I definitely had to manually sync my fair share of clips, which is as simple as lining up the frame that a clapper shuts with the sound of the clapper in the audio, and using the raw audio recorded by the camera to verify that everything was correct. While it didn't take too long, it was definitely still time consuming, and these small inefficiencies can really add up when you're editing. Regardless, the audio was now all synced, so it was time to move on to the next stage, familiarizing myself with the scene. Before editing any clip, I went through and read the script in detail. I wanted to make sure that I didn't cut out any critical lines or dialogue, but also I wanted to make sure that I understood the general mood of every scene in the script. This stage was very quick, but it was definitely extremely helpful in making sure the rest of the edit went smoothly. The next stage was actually editing each scene. This was the fun part. I was finally able to take all the shots that we had recorded and put them together to tell the story that the scene needed to tell. I could probably talk about how I edited this short film for hours, and I did originally draft a script where I included information about it, but I ended up adding so much information that 75% of the video was just me talking about this, so I ended up cutting most of it. If you are interested in knowing more about the specifics about how I edited the film, let me know in the comments and I might make a separate video about it. Anyways, after I had every scene in the film in a rough cut state, the next stage was sending it to Slack for feedback. This stage was absolutely critical because it allowed everyone involved to make sure that the film was coming along exactly as it was planned. When making a film, a director has an initial vision that is then interpreted by the director of photography and then interpreted again by the editor. If you're not careful, this can easily turn into a bad game of telephone, with the director's initial vision getting muddier and muddier each time. While I did put a little bit of my own creative spin on it as the editor, it was really important to me that the overall vision was in line with what the director had originally planned. After getting feedback on all the individual scenes, the next step was combining them all into the screening cut. To do this, I put all the scenes into one timeline added a LUT to do some basic color grading for me, made sure that they flowed together, updated some of the VFX to make sure that they were consistent throughout the entire cut, changed some shots around to hide some errors that we made while shooting, and added some basic sound effects to some of the scenes with no audio to liven them up a bit. Then I slapped on the title card and credit sequence that were both created by the director and sent it into Slack. This project is by no means finished, and I'm really excited to continue working on it in the winter quarter and bring it through to the final product. You definitely haven't seen the last of this project on this channel, so subscribe if you don't want to miss the next update. That's all for this time though. I'll see you next week.